First, I'd like to, it's an honor to actually get to speak to you. I've watched a lot of your videos. So.
Well, it's very nice to talk to you too. Thank you very much. That's very nice of you. Let's see if I can make this bigger. So I can get us both on the
Is there
screen.
like, am I having feedback? Like, do you hear feedback from my side?
No, you sound great. Your audio is really good, actually. But what
Awesome.
I need to do is, what you're probably hearing, I have a fan on right here, which I need to turn off.
No, 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 no. There's nothing on your side. I
Let's
just
see.
want to
How
make
does
sure
that look?
that.
That looks good. Okay, let me see. That'll have to do good. That has to just do, I think, like that. Yeah, that should be fine. Hello, Landry. My name is Host Eric,
So,
and welcome to Talking with Famous People. How are you?
I'm fantastic. So I have a question. Is it recording now,
Yeah, it's
or is this
recording
like
right now.
the?
Yeah, I'm
That's
recording it. I'm
hilarious.
recording the screen of my computer with my phone because I don't. This way, I don't have any other good way of doing it. The other way is like I have this record your desktop, what's happening on your desktop software, but the audio comes out all terrible and I don't know. So I just do this. I'd rather have good audio than good video. That's my theory.
So what happens if like I get interrupted or someone comes down here and is like, "Oh, I need to talk to you" or whatnot? It's just, do you have like special editing or?
Well, I mean, I don't plan on editing this at all. I plan to just put it straight up there. Um,
Interesting.
I used to do more editing. I've since determined that primarily what people watch videos for is the human interaction, and it doesn't require necessarily editing if I stay attentive to time issues and try to stay on topic. If I do a decent job, and if it doesn't come out decent, I usually won't put it up.
Interesting.
So
Um,
I thought, wait, hold on. I want to ask you some questions about you because I don't know. I remember you commenting on a video. I don't remember when it was. It was a while ago, and um, that you self-identify as an ENTP as well, right? Is that true?
yes, I do.
Yeah, you do. Okay, cool. Um, do you can you tell me a little about like what you do and stuff like that? I don't normally ask these kind of questions, but I'm curious because you're a college student, to the best of my knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what are you? Are you in Florida or something?
No,
No.
I'm in Maryland.
Maryland. Are you a Terrapin?
Hmm. Essentially. Yeah, sure. That's
Okay.
how'd you know?
Because my dad went to college there. He was a
Interesting.
Terrapin. Um,
Really?
yeah.
I'm messing with the light. I'm sorry.
I don't
I'll
care.
stop doing that eventually.
Doesn't bother me.
Um,
Um, what? Tell me what are your goals and stuff?
yeah.
Like, tell me about that stuff. I want to know what your goals are.
Oh, I want to get Fusion to work.
Fusion? That'd be
Yeah.
nice. You're gonna give us some
Nuclear
free energy, or
fusion
what? Can you
with
make it
hydrogen.
free? While we're
Excuse
at
me?
it, as long as we're wishing for things, can you make it free fusion energy?
It's as free as anything else can it is. I mean, I can't make it free. Markets are made by people that won't ever listen to me.
Well, what I'm saying is the process itself either requires energy and resource expenditure in the input phase, or it doesn't.
Hmm.
Right? I would say
I
that.
mean, it always does. Like, I mean, like, to, even burning fossil fuels requires expenditures of energy. I mean, the thing is, yeah, hopefully there's higher energy density. That the energy you put in will be more than compensated by the energy you get out.
What do you fuse together in fusion?
Hydrogen. Well, you can fuse anything lighter than iron to get energy out, but hydrogen
And how
is
do you
the
fuse it?
lightest.
You smush it together or what?
Yes, that's the thing. You smush it together with something that's not. 'Cause the sun does it, right? But it uses gravity, so you have to try to use something that's, not gravity
Like
because
an
we don't have a.
anvil.
Yeah.
You could use an anvil. Have you tried using an anvil? You get two
Um,
anvils. You get two anvils. You put a big pile of hydrogen on top of one of them, and you drop the other anvil on top of it.
that would be using gravity.
Oh, okay. Well, it would be,
And
but it would also be using an anvil, which would give it a certain cartoony glory to it, Proceed.
yeah,
Tell me more about fusion. I'm actually interested in this. I regret making jokes because I remember reading about this back in like when they first said maybe it's a possibility. It was like, I don't know, it was maybe 89, 91, something like that. And then they were like, no, it's not going to work. So you say, no,
I
it's
don't know,
not never going to work? It's not never
it's
going to work.
still the case that it's never going to work according to people. I mean, they recently detected gravity waves, right?
I read about that.
In some sense, they never existed at some point
They never
for
exist.
most of history.
What do you mean they didn't exist?
No, according to experts, first, before general relativity, they weren't even conceptually possible. Then after general relativity, most people say they don't exist. They're just, some mathematical anomaly. And 100 years after general relativity, they're detected. It's that kind of thing. It's like
Okay,
people
so
will always.
wait, but hold on. I like this idea that you sort of said in there. I don't know if you meant it this way or not, but I like the idea that because we lacked the conceptual framework, they didn't exist before. I like that idea. Is that what you
It's kind of a
intended?
joke. They exist, but a lot of stuff that exists, we have no clue about.
Well, I mean, I think it's meaningless to say it exists at all prior to our having conception of it. Because, for example, I like to say that the entire universe is comprised. Well, again, I read this one article one time, and now I can't do that anymore. The entire universe comprises the set of all things that can be named.
Hmm. That's a thing you can say, yeah.
You can't disprove it, right?
Um,
Name one thing in the set of all things that cannot be named.
um, the unnameable, yeah. Okay, I see your point. It's the barber's paradox.
Are you know what that's called?
Uh,
What's the Barber's
it's like
Paradox? What's the original story on it? Let me hear it.
um, so when Russell was trying to make the foundations of math on logic. He did all this categorization things, the thing where you put everything in sets and subsets of other sets. Essentially a lot
Taxonomy.
of
It's called modular taxonomy.
yeah, stuff like that. But then he got to the set of all sets that don't contain themselves, which is and an analogy to that is the barber's paradox, which is there's a town with a barber who shaves everyone who doesn't shave themselves. And the question, who shaves the barber? He
Oh,
shaves
right.
everyone
Yeah, I
who
got
doesn't.
you. Yeah, I get you. I see. Interesting.
Yeah,
That's very
exactly.
clever. I like that. It is similar, I suppose, except I think that the notion of a set of the existence, reality, the totality of things, being comprised of the set of all things that can be named, is more useful, right? Because it actually allows you to make some arguments from it that are potentially of value. Because then we get to have a meaningful definition of existence. I think meaningfully it didn't exist until we could name it, right? Or conceive of it. To whom did it
Um,
exist?
I mean, yes, it's more useful,
But okay,
but
who experienced its existence? How do we know? How do we know it was if nobody could experience its existence?
how about this? I mean, you can say, then you have to say that, yeah, it has to be experienced. Yeah, that's true.
Or it has to be named. No,
The,
it doesn't have to be experienced. I think it has to be named. But the point is, it's like
why can't
nobody
it
could
just
name
be?
it back then. That's what I mean by experience its existence. Is nobody back then, before it existed in terms of having a name, it functionally didn't exist. Although it could retroactively exist for people who learned the name during the course of their lifetime, right? So
Yeah.
for those people, they
So,
could go. It would exist back to their birth, I think. Once
but
you
why
learn
does it
about
have
it.
to be named? Why can't it just can it be numbered if it's number a
Well,
taxonomy?
that's a name. That's a name.
How about this? How about, I mean,
Symbolized,
you
whatever.
could, yeah, like the set of numbers is infinite, so you could just map everything to the set of like numbers.
Um,
So you could just give everything a number name, like meta names. Like
well, but
right now,
then, okay, well,
things that I don't know, I'll give them a number.
but you'd have problems
Things I
with
don't know.
defining defining distinct objects, distinct time and space objects. Whereas names, words are designed to have that flexibility. But they're in what they do is referentially pin down into static symbol that which is fluid and otherwise would just drive us insane.
I mean, names are just strings, and in my understanding, any string can be just turned into a number. Like, yeah,
No.
essentially.
Here's a word that cannot be turned into a number. You ready for it? Quadrable cannot be turned into a number. Also,
Say it again.
quadrable. Quadrable.
Why not? Of course it can.
No, it has magical powers. That's why it can't. It's a quadrable, for God's sake. Have you ever experienced a quadrable? Do you know what the outcome of a quadrable is? You experience elation.
I have no clue.
Elation. That's what they say. All you need to do is if you want to experience elation, Landry, here is how you do it. You find one INTP, one ESTJ, one ESFJ, one ISFJ, and you, just the four of you, and you sit around a table in a room. That's it. You put the timer on for like 45 minutes or whatever. That's it. That's a quadrable, and host Eric guarantees that you will experience elation. Would you like to experience some elation? That's what.
I mean, I believe I have in the past. That seems like a set that's happened before.
Well, if you ever encounter that occasion again, and you're sure you've got that quadrable set in place, you take mental notes, please, because I want to hear all about whether or not you experience elation. Now, if you've not been to quadrable.com, you really should go check it out. That's QUADRABBLE.com. But
Let me
okay.
see.
Yeah, if you want to look at it, no, it's fine. But I'm going to pause this video for a second then. If you're going to look at that for a second. Pause. Okay, we're back. We're back and better than ever here on Talking with Famous People. And I don't remember what we were talking about.
Quadrable.
Let's not talk about quadrable. Let's talk about something else. When did you first discover the ideas of cognitive functions and MBTI and stuff?
I mean, I probably first got tested like in high school because, you know, before college or something. I didn't think much of it, but then I don't know when it was. Maybe it was like my freshman year of college. I went on a website and took the test, and started researching it. And I was like, wow, this is interesting.
I have some questions about how you cognate. When you think about numbers, do they appear in a certain spatial arrangement in your head? Like if you were to think 1 through 10 or 1 through 100, do those have certain visual spatial layout in your head?
Numbers are like really important to me. They're like, they're like a spiritual thing in my head. They're the truth.
How do they look though? Are they visuals or are they something else?
Numbers aren't they're not the symbols. They're the concept of a thing, and then two things, and then three things. In my head, they're not visual. I don't visually see actual like numbers in my head.
If I were to ask you to visualize the face of somebody you know well, like your mother or your best friend or something, would you be able to close your eyes and picture it clearly in your head?
No.
Okay. So it's kind of, you couldn't pin it down to draw it? Won't stay put long enough, or will it? Will it stay put if you wanted to draw it? The same face, or will it change, kind of morph and not stay the same?
I don't have like a photographic memory. I would probably draw like a stylized version, but it'd be reminiscent of them.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Do you play any music or do any sort of musical things?
No.
No. Do you know how your pitch is? Your how well you match pitch, tones, stuff like that?
Probably. I mean, I have no clue how any of that stuff works actually. Music is just not my strong taste, strong point.
Okay.
Uh,
I mean, so like, but for example, if you were said, like, you went on this trip with some people and they said, "Hey, we're going around the campfire and we're all singing campfire songs," and everyone was singing along and you join in, you sing along, and then you know the song, whatever it is, I don't know. Are you gonna feel as though, like, for example, if I were to sing la 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 la, could you match those pitches?
no, but I could try. It was like la 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 la.
Okay.
It was.
All right.
I,
This is interesting. This is really good data. Okay, it's really good data. Constance, stop playing with that.
I mean, the thing is, this is not something I practice, but I'm pretty sure if I practiced it, I could. When I did it right there, I felt like there's something that can be learned,
Right.
or can be mastered.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. We all prioritize certain things in our life that we have to become. We can't. We don't get to choose to be good at absolutely everything, right? There's some things you have to focus on, and some things you have to kind of put on the back burner, and a certain amount of time is required. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I did learn to draw. I can draw. I never drew faces, but I can draw stuff. The stuff that I'm interested in. So.
Okay. So then I want to ask you about physical stuff, like kinesthetic stuff. Have you ever played any sports or stuff like that? Or how do you feel about your body in space? Do you feel like you are dexterous and ninja, or do you feel like you're clumsy and kind of bump into things?
I actually did a lot of sports. So I was born in Africa, right? I was born in Burundi, and there, in the schoolyard, you play soccer. And then I came to the U.S. I didn't play soccer for like years, but my dad played tennis, so I played tennis. In high school I did cross country. I don't like sports. I played tennis because my dad did. I like running because it's fantastic. You get the runner's high, and it's like it's essentially exploring. It's automatic exploring. I don't do it regularly. It's just I literally just go running when I feel like I need to go exploring, or when I feel like I need to listen to some podcast or some music. That's when I go running. Running with friends is good. I mean, I don't know.
Tell me about your experience of social life. For example, are you somebody who's going to be, let's sort of parse it out one question at a time. Are you somebody who's going to be more likely to be hanging out with a single other person in a tight one-on-one relationship kind of a thing, but not necessarily the same one over and over and over all day long? I'm just saying, like maybe a succession of ones or just one all day long. Either way, it would be one. Or a super small group like 2 or 3, or you prefer a large group when you're hanging out? What do you prefer, and what are you more likely to actually do?
Like in high school, I had a group of friends. I could just tell you, I think there were just 3, and we just hung around each other. Like we were really like odd people, like the odd people at the school.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Just like
I am well familiar with that.
we played cards in the library. and I mean, people like came, like we were like, and we claimed our territory after a while. Like we were the people that played cards in the library, and people came by and chatted with us, and we were the place where you talked about your political views and your and all that stuff.
Can you tell me about so you're how long is this your second year in college, first year in college? What?
I've been in college for way too
Four
long.
years, 5 years? I was there 5 years myself. Okay, so what's your
Um,
how's that? How did your social experience change? Obviously, it's going to broaden some when you get to college. Would you say that you still
yeah.
favored that size group, or what?
So in college, at first I lived. So for the first year, I commuted. Right now, I currently commute because I had been dreaming of for a long time. I moved into a cooperative, like uh, you know,
Were the
a
people there
leftist co.
particularly cooperative?
That's an interesting question. In some sense, yes. In some sense, no.
In some sense, were they uncooperative?
Some of them were very uncooperative. Others were very, very cooperative and very nice.
And now you're no longer in a cooperative,
No, no longer. I mean, I'm still like I don't know, an honorary member, and
and you still hang out
I'm
there.
still like one of my best friends, my main best friend essentially moved in with me while I lived in the cooperative, and he still lives there. So uh, I haven't gone there recently, but I used to go there much more recently. Like a month ago, I was there,
What are
and I was there yesterday, but but just to talk to him. But I don't hang out there as much anymore.
what are your visions for yourself in terms of long term relationship, kid type stuff? If do you want to have any children?
I when I figure out my own stuff, I'll consider having children. Like
I
like
I had my daughter at
I,
28, and that was a little bit young, probably. In retrospect, I wish I had waited a few more years than that because when I was a little wild still at 28 for raising a kid, maybe. I don't know. But we did fine. We made it. Um, what about, what's your feeling about relationships in general? Do you prefer to be single? Do you prefer to be in a relationship? What?
that's the sad situation. It's like I have never actually been in a real relationship. That's the problem. That's one problem. It
Well,
kind of sucks.
um, that's really interesting because I think there's a lot of people out there who are in exactly the same situation, whatever the specifics of their narrative are, where they just feel as though at the moment, or and it probably builds up narratively if it's over time, but that it's just not in the cards for doesn't seem to be in the cards for you at the moment or whatever, and then that can be really a difficult thing to bear as a burden on your identity unless you've got everything else like really super squared away because that's a lot of societal expectation on that shit, you know?
Yeah, I've gotten over it.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. I have nice friends, and they're cool, um, and that's good enough for now.
Yeah.
I think I can, if I wanted to put a lot of energy into having a relationship, I probably could, but right now it's not what's important, I guess.
Here's the thing that
Not
I've
to try to get
experienced is that
usually
relationships
what.
relationships have a tendency to um, consume many years. They start out innocent enough, and then
Let me see.
a decade or 15 years
Oh,
later, you find yourself getting out of that relationship. You know, it starts one Thursday on a Thursday afternoon. You go get coffee and a bagel, and then 15 years later you're getting divorced. So I mean, you got to be a little bit careful too. You don't want to dive in anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, especially if you're going to invest a lot.
Right. All right. Listen, I'm going to stop this video so it's of manageable size. Thank you for watching Talking with Famous People.